Hi, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder, and today's episode is brought to you by Lilu. The Lilu Massager Plus bra is the first hands-free pumping bra that mimics breast massage so that you can express more milk in less time. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. Fairhaven Health has introduced a new product. I guess it's not new anymore, so I should change this ad copy. But it's newer. The Sage Personal Moisturizer and Lubricant. I don't know why I always have to say lubricant like that. Like on a sex line or something.
I know.
But we will hear more from our sponsors later. You can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com and check our sponsor page if you need anything. Check there and see if you can give them any of your business because they make this podcast possible. And while you're there, scroll down and enter your email address and we will send episodes straight to your inbox every week. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
So this review goes back a little bit, but I saved it for this episode. So it says, "Hey ladies, I just wanted to send you a quick message to let you know how much I appreciate your podcast. I just had my baby 9 days ago and breastfeeding is off to an amazing start. I listened to your podcast. I think I've listened to almost every single episode and started during my pregnancy and just felt so equipped with great information on all things breastfeeding. I even enjoyed my first glass of wine last night while celebrating Mother's Day because I knew that I could and it wouldn't affect my milk. I'm just so grateful for having found your podcast during my pregnancy so that I could hit the ground running with my breastfeeding journey. I've been able to implement so many of the tips and tricks that you shared, even in this first week of my daughter's life. I tell everyone about your podcast, especially all of my pregnant moms who are going to be breastfeeding for the first time." So like I said, this goes back a couple months because she was talking about having a glass of wine on Mother's Day. But the point is, she felt comfortable having a glass of wine on Mother's Day because she heard us talking about it being safe. Thank you for listening, Brittany.
Thank you for listening.
Because that is what we're all about here at the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast, making sure you can do whatever the hell you want to do. But seriously though, thank you so much for sending that in for us. And she did send that to our Gmail, badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com. But if you can put them on iTunes, that's really super helpful. It shows makes a podcast show up so other people can find us. At least I think that's what it does. I could be making that up. But I'm pretty sure that's what it does.
I think so.
And send it to us. We love to hear it. And we love to know how stuff like that, because just yesterday, somebody emailed me and was like, all right, what are the rules? I finally had my baby. I'd like to have a drink. What are the rules? What should I do? This is something that will never go away, right? This is never going to go away. People are always going to ask about this. Always.
It is amazing to me because there are very few topics that have such clear science behind them that are so controversial. This is a topic where the science is just so clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it is still one of the most controversial, judgmental, anxiety-provoking topics.
Judgmental. That's a great word to throw out there because it really is.
Yeah.
Nobody will make you feel worse than if they know that you're having a drink while you're breastfeeding your baby.
Right.
And I don't mean while at the moment, even though you can do that. I mean, while the whole span of time that you happen to be breastfeeding. Nobody will make you feel more judged than at that time.
Right. And there's really no other time where you have such clear science backing your decision.
But we did this episode years ago. Oh, were you? Okay, go ahead. I'm totally
No, it's okay. I was trying to gather my thoughts because I suddenly had 100 because I have notes coming out the wazoo. And so we did this episode in February of 2018 and it's an episode that we refer to often. I went back and listened to it and that was back when the sound was shitty and the episode is great, but it's it's so old. And one of the beautiful things is the science hasn't changed, but our sound has.
Oh my God.
So we can make this
It's
we can
going to be
update
better.
this. Yes, get it on people's radars again. And, we have so many new listeners since February of 2018 that you guys can hear it too.
Yeah. It's, we don't often go back and listen to our own podcast. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. So the fact that Abby did that was pretty stellar because, but and I remember a lot of what we said, but I'm sure there's stuff that, that I totally forgot too, but there's definitely stuff that I know that we talked about there, but it was, it will really make you feel better about your choices, not just because somebody says to you, oh, it's fine if you drink. It's like the science behind it and what it is. It's like real evidence behind it's okay, and this is why it's okay. And you will be amazed at this.
You will be amazed at what we are talking about. When we break down the science and the numbers for you, you will be amazed. You'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is what people are freaking out about.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just continue to talk about what we're going to talk about, just so we can keep you on the edge of your seat. No, and so like any other topic, we'll start out because we did the marijuana episode and then people were like, why are you encouraging people to do marijuana? I'm not encouraging people to do anything. We are a breastfeeding podcast because we're into breastfeeding and we know a lot about breastfeeding. And so we give people information to do whatever they want to do. Like Dianne said, do whatever the hell you want to do while you're breastfeeding. And so if this is what we know, people are going to do it. So have the information on how to do it safely. And the beautiful thing about alcohol is that there is no issue with the alcohol content in your breast milk. It is not a alcohol in your breast milk issue. It is a safety issue. And that's all.
Yeah.
All you have to do is plan to be a safe person while you're drunk, which is an oxymoron.
Right.
You have to have a safety plan if you're going to be drunk and go ahead and nurse your baby. So we know, this is a very common thing in our culture, people drinking. What's not so common is how taboo it is and how much we in America equate drinking with being like throwing up on the side of the street.
My God, I wasn't going to talk about throwing up on the side of the street, but I was just going to mention about how different it is in other places. And last weekend, we were in the Adirondacks with family, and one of the family members, my husband's cousin's wife, I don't know if you guys want to follow that along, but she's Asian, and she was talking about how she was drinking at a very young age. So when she had, because of how things are set up and because that's just how it was in her culture, and they would, give her alcohol or whatever, not like get her drunk, but, like family members would give her alcohol and stuff.
Yeah.
And she said that when she was bringing up her daughters, she had them drinking at a very young age because she wanted them to know what their limits are. And we were like, oh, I never really thought about it. And I still don't know how I feel about that, but that is how different it is than it is here.
Yes.
Like it is just so different. And here it's like when you just ban things and taboo it, what does that make you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. This is what adolescents are going to want to do. They want to do that banned thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Who
and
doesn't?
I get it. I like to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I did everything that I could if it was banned.
Yes, right.
I breastfed because my mother told me
what
I couldn't.
What am I not allowed to do? That's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me find out first what I'm not allowed to do. Then I'll tell you what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is very different. It's, we just make everything. This culture is so different from all other cultures. And, we can spend all night talking about that, but it is true. So this is going to be similar to the having a designated driver concept. So if you're driving and you're out, hopefully there is a conversation about who's going to drive home. And then that person is going to be the one that takes it easy so that you can drive home safely. So this is going to be the same thing. Who is going to take care of the baby? If somebody's going to be drinking, someone's going to have to take it easy to take care of the baby, to take care of any emergencies that come up, to make sure that the drunk person, because listen, Nobody thinks they're more sober than a drunk person.
It's a really good way to put that.
You know, I'm not drunk. I'm not drunk.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
you're a little
fine.
drunk. I am not drunk. I'm totally fine. I'm not drunk at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is the song of the drunk people. This is
this is their
don't
their
worry.
motto.
I'm not judging. I sang it for decades.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so there needs to be a person who's just like, yeah, and is able to handle an emergency if it comes up, who's able to make sure that there is no bed sharing. Because when you fall asleep when you're drinking, you will not wake up. You do not have that normal kind of, sense around your baby.
Yeah. You'll wake up eventually, but you won't, not like
you might
won't
be on
in
top
tune
of
with
your
your
baby.
Yeah. You won't be in tune with your baby like you are when you're sober.
No, it's not safe.
Mm-hmm.
Do not bed share if you are drinking. You can nurse. And even if you're drunk and you need to nurse, have somebody there just supervising.
Yeah.
Because it is not an issue of alcohol in your blood, in your breast milk. And now we can get to the numbers because the numbers are fun.
Yeah.
The numbers are fun for me. And I'm not usually a math numbers person, but with alcohol, it is just so clear.
It is really
just
cool.
So interesting what we are freaking out about. Okay, so you are going to. We talk a lot about a glass of wine. So a glass of wine is going to have somewhere between 11 and 13% alcohol. So when you drink that alcohol, it goes into your bloodstream. It goes into your breast milk at the same rate that it goes into your blood. And it is metabolized the exact same amounts as well. So now people think, okay, I had this drink that has 11% alcohol. So now my blood is 11% alcohol. And now that's what my baby's drinking. That is not how it works. That is not how it works.
No.
You are drinking this. It is being absorbed into your bloodstream. It is being metabolized. Your blood alcohol level is going to peak about 30 minutes later, and it's going to peak at 0.02.
Now we need one glass of wine, right?
One glass of wine, yes. And so let's put that into perspective because people are like, okay, wait, we went from 11%, 0.2. What does all this mean? Okay. So the law in most states, I don't know, I maybe this varies from state to state. I'm not sure. But if you are above a blood alcohol content of 0.08 in most states, you are driving under the influence, right? You get a breathalyzer, You're swerving around, you get a breathalyzer. If your alcohol level is over 0.08, you are too drunk and you'll be arrested.
Right.
Now, a blood alcohol content of like 0.3 or 0.4 is fatal. 0.3, 0.4. Above
not
the
0.03, 0.3.
Not 0.03, 0.3. Yes, the DUI will come at 0.08, which means you are too drunk to drive. You are very impaired. Of course, your body weight, I think, and all different kinds of things play, different sizes of people, I guess, have different amounts of blood in them and whatever.
I think, just metabolizing. I think people just metabolize at different rates. So, yeah.
And so furthermore, to put this 0.02 is your blood alcohol level after one glass of wine, 30 minutes, it'll be 0.02. So now, how much alcohol do you think orange juice has in it? Not vodka orange.
Not a screwdriver.
Orange juice, Tropicana orange juice. How much do you think is in there, Diane?
This is my favorite. I don't remember the numbers. So I'm going to say 0.03?
0.5.
Oh, dear.
0.5 to 0.7. A banana has 0.05.
Oh.
So a banana has more alcohol content than your blood after 30 minutes when your blood alcohol level is peaking at 0.02 after 30 minutes. Non-alcoholic beer has about 0.7. Sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
I remember having this conversation. It might have actually come off of this episode, having this conversation with my husband, or maybe it was just something we were listening to. I don't know, whatever. But we were talking about people in prison and prisoners. I think it was actually like some kind of murder podcast we were listening to, but it was talking about somebody who was in prison and like ended up dying because they got drunk in prison and fell to their death or something like that. And I was like, how the hell do you get drunk in prison? And my husband goes, fermented fruit. And I was like, oh,
how much
that's a thing?
You have to like have a lot of it.
Well, I think maybe you save all the fruit that you get.
Well, listen. So this is exactly what I was about to say. Thank you, Tom. Mm-hmm. The fermentation creates ethanol. So that is why orange juice, not just orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, that's why these things have an alcohol content, because of the fermentation of this fruit creates ethanol. And things like kombucha, we drink a lot of kombucha in this house. And, that's a fermented drink, has an alcohol content of I'm not even sure. I mean, there's the kombucha that actually does have like a measurable amount of alcohol in it. And then there's the kind that doesn't. But anyway. A few other things that have an alcohol content: burger rolls, sweet milk rolls. I don't know what the hell those are. They sound disgusting, but
maybe those would be like the Hawaiian, like they're like
maybe. Oh yeah,
that's like the brand name of them. They're like sweet rolls or something. Hawaiian
sweet rolls are fine if you add the milk in there. I know this is a breastfeeding podcast, but the word milk in a bun,
it's kind of weird.
That sounds gross to me. Honey buns.
Oh,
so
some little Debbie.
Yeah. There are things in our world that have an alcohol content. Now, you wouldn't like not give your baby a banana
or eat one while you're pregnant.
Right. I think that actually, let's have a moment where we just take a break to talk about. Oh shit. Okay. I'm going to say this and then we're going to take an ad break. But I'm going to say this and then. So people, I think, confuse drinking while you're pregnant with drinking while you're breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're drinking when you're pregnant, your baby is sharing your bloodstream. So this is like a very real concern, except even like when you're past 7 or 8 months, my midwives were like, have a glass of wine.
Yeah, there's a lot of mixed.
Try to calm those fake contractions down. Which
there's a lot of mixed.
Fake, but yeah. I mean, there are, even when I went to the ER once when I was pregnant because I wasn't feeling well, and I was like 8 months pregnant or something, and the nurse was just like, "You can have a glass of wine. Like if you need a little help calming down, like right now, just have a glass of wine. It's fine. Your baby's developed. It's okay." Now she didn't tell me to get trashed, but
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it is very different though. It is a very different conversation because your baby is sharing your bloodstream. Your baby is not sharing your bloodstream when you are breastfeeding. It is outside of you now. And so this is an extremely different conversation. And we can keep having the conversation after a word from our sponsors. How about?
All right.
Today's episode is brought to you by Lilu. The Lilu Massager Plus bra is the first hands-free bra that mimics breast massage so you can express more milk in less time. We do the heavy lifting so you can go hands-free. The lactation massage cushions inside the bra mimic hands-on compression motions recommended by lactation experts. The bra holds your breasts in place, massaging both simultaneously while you pump. The Lilu Massager Plus bra helps to fully empty your breasts to establish, increase, and maintain your milk supply. Research shows that breast massage helps you to pump 30 to 50% more milk per session. Breast massage also helps alleviate clogged ducts and engorgement. Learn more about the Lilu Massager Plus bra at wearlilu.com. That's wearlilu.com. Join their community and save $10. Then use code BADASSBF for an additional $5 off of your order. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. Fairhaven Health was excited a while ago to introduce their new product, Sage Personal Moisturizer and Lubricant, the newest product in their Vaginal Care and Comfort collection. Products designed to support vaginal health through every life stage. Sage is designed to replenish your natural lubrication and provide temporary relief from vaginal dryness. While vaginal dryness is most common in older women, there are a handful of other factors that lead to vaginal dryness. Breastfeeding, antidepressants, some fertility and cancer medications, stress, and even exercise. As with all their vaginal care products, Sage is made without estrogen, parabens, glycerol, or coating oils. Check out Sage and all the other vaginal care products at fairhavenhealth.com. That's FAIRHAVEN health.com. And use promo code BADASS for 15% off of your order. And today's sponsors and the promo codes can be found in our show notes under this episode at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. Our show notes will also include further information about things we talk about in this episode. And at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, you will also find our breastfeeding resources, all of our other episodes, and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne.
All right, let's talk about more alcohol stuff.
Yes, let's do it.
I feel like people think that you are pouring the drink right in the baby's mouth. That's how people act.
Well, this is a very, very common thing that I see on the internet. I see people saying, if you're tipsy, your baby's tipsy.
Oh my God. Come on.
For your baby to be tipsy, you would be dead.
Yeah.
You would be dead.
Yeah.
You would not be able to live with as much alcohol in your system to make a baby tipsy. That is insane.
Stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Seriously. Yeah, but people say this all the time, and it's just like, this is, of course, why we have so many problems, because people just constantly spread all this nonsense.
Yeah. And I think something to remember too, and I usually tell people this when I'm talking to them about alcohol, is that if you're having, like, say you have your baby and you had a drink, or you're planning to have a drink, you want to have a drink, it's probably at best been about a year since you've had a drink, or at least almost a year. If you were doing like fertility treatments and stuff like that, then it was probably even longer than that. So one drink might make you feel like you're done, right? Like one drink might be enough to like really make you feel like you're drunk. That still doesn't mean it's a lot of alcohol. It really doesn't.
No, so that means that you are a safety issue for your child, but not
that's
your
all it
milk.
means. Yeah.
All it means is that you need somebody to make sure you don't roll on your baby when you're nursing them.
Yeah.
And then put you to bed on a separate surface. That's all.
Yeah. Everybody needs one of those people.
You what?
Everybody needs one of those people.
Yes. This is not, your breast milk is not a danger to your child. You are. When you're drunk, because people do not make good decisions when this is what alcohol does to you, right? It fucks with your decision making.
Right. Anything puts you under the influence. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And plan this beforehand, because like I said, there is nobody who thinks they're more fine than a drunk person. So you do not have good judgment when you're drinking, even if it's just a small amount, because like Dianne said, yeah, you're going to be affected more than you were. You'll be a cheaper date.
Right, exactly. But that doesn't mean that there's more alcohol in your milk. It really just, no.
This is another thing, because people, people say like, well, if you're sober enough to drive, you're sober enough to drink. Now, I don't have as much of a problem with that, because if you are sober enough to drive, you are sober enough to drive your baby to an emergency room if there is an emergency. But that still doesn't determine that. It still doesn't mean that if you're not sober enough to drive, that there is a dangerous amount of alcohol in your breast milk. It just means that you are no longer safe.
Right. I know people like to have a gauge, right? Like people want to know like exactly like what do I go by? And I think that's why that whole if you're drunk enough or if you're sober enough to drive, then you can fit, because then that really gives people something to like, something solid for people to grab onto.
Yeah.
Like, okay, there's my that's my window right there.
But also we know, but we also know that people do not make good decisions when they're drunk and often think they're fine enough to drive when they're not.
Exactly. Yes.
So if you're going to have, I told this story on the other one, but after I had Jack, I had friends over and I was just like, I'm going to get drunk with my friends. Josh, you need to just be like the baby person. Mm-hmm. And so he would like cart the baby out to the drunk people every once in a while. And we'd all go like, and then he'd take him away. And then, I'd put him to bed at some point. And he handled him through the night so that I could just drink and not have to think about it and be safe, And then I did not sleep I guess maybe put Jack in a bassinet or something. But I didn't sleep next to him. And that's the thing. That's all you got to do. You got to make the safety plan around your behavior, not your breast milk. And there are people, because you hear this all the time. So I guess we know that like your drink, so you have a drink, it's going to peak in your blood about 30 minutes later. It'll probably be all gone out of your system after 2 hours. So people are like, okay, so after 2 hours I can nurse again. Okay. But again, we're talking about alcohol content that is less than a banana. So if you're trying to avoid the alcohol content in a banana, then yes, you can wait 2 hours. But you don't need to do that. I love the numbers because it shows that we don't need to worry about the numbers.
Yeah.
We don't need to like look at the clock. We don't need to count our drinks. We don't need to do we need to stop that. First of all, stop focusing on that because people are not focusing on the other part, which is making the safety plans. And that's what you need to do. Just don't bed share and have someone there who can handle an emergency if needed. That is all.
That's it.
That's not all because I have 2 more pages of notes, so it must not be all. But this is the conversation that happens so much around breastfeeding, right? Is like all these things that you can't do, all these things that and people are like, well, if you love your baby, you can give up drinking. It's like, yeah, but you don't have to, and like, don't say shit like that.
Right? It's
why
not
do you
okay.
have to be such an asshole?
Yeah.
And you don't need to give up everything that you did before you had a baby. This is what makes people not want to breastfeed, makes people feel like it's too hard. It's taking too much out of their life. And it's just not true. And it's very clear that this is not true.
It's not true. No.
You do, I said it a million times. Say it one more time. Don't bed share. Don't drive. Don't be alone because you might drop the baby.
Right.
And that's all. And I remember after I had Exley, I was at home. So I texted my midwife and I was like, can I have a beer? Like, and she replied, I can't think of somebody who deserves a beer more than you. And I was like,
there you go. I said that to somebody yesterday because she was like, she emailed me. It was one of our listeners, actually, I think. And she emailed me and she was asking about, she's like, I don't really drink that much, but I've just been craving a hard cider for like 9 months. And I'm like, yeah, you earned it. So, like go right ahead and enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing that you hear is like, I had a drink and then I nursed my baby and my baby fell asleep. My baby like slept longer than ever. No, they didn't. That's not what happened.
No, it really isn't.
That's not what happened. I mean, it's not because of the alcohol. It's just not.
Mm-mm.
So
yeah, what else was in your notes?
I know. I'm trying to look at my notes. So yeah, well, actually, I think I said everything.
So there's something I definitely want to bring up. Mm-hmm. There is some information out there. There is evidence out there, research out there that says that it can impact your milk supply, that alcohol can impact your milk supply. Mm-hmm. that is if you drink a lot. And I don't mean you went out one night and you drank a lot. I mean, like, you drink every day kind of a thing. Like, that's when it will impact your milk supply. If you are a regular drinker and you are drinking all the time, that does have the potential to impact your milk supply. But if you're just like, I'm a social drinker, I'm going to a wedding, I'm going to a Christmas party, I'm going to a birthday, whatever, that's not going to impact your milk supply. Like, that's fine. But if you're like, oh, I'm drinking every day, then we might find that that's a milk supply issue over time.
Now, if you are pumping while you are, because I don't, well, whatever. We don't always need to hear my story about everything. Pumping, it's possible that being drunk can make it more difficult to have a letdown. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. It can hinder letdown.
So if you experience that, just know that that's okay. It'll come down at some point when you come down. And don't dump it out.
No.
Do not pump and dump your milk. That does
Absolutely
not make it metabolize faster. All it does is waste breast milk, and it's still safe to give your baby.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Like, people go, pump it. It doesn't make the alcohol go out of your system any faster. It's just wasteful. There's no reason to do that. There's no reason to pump and dump ever in your life. So don't let anybody tell you that you should be doing that. But especially in this situation, it does not make the alcohol go out of your system any faster if you're pumping it and dumping it out. It really doesn't.
So there is a pediatrician, a Canadian pediatrician. His name is Dr. Jack Newman. He's like at the Toronto Breastfeeding Center or something. And he had a Facebook post. This was years ago now, but it's still up. We can link it in the notes. Where a woman was drinking drinks and testing the amount of alcohol in her blood over time. And he breaks down all these numbers again in that post, even more. Like, it's not just 0.02. His number is like 0.0273529. Like, he's got like the down to like
he's really
all the exact things are there. He's really on it. Yeah. And so, he explains it all. He writes it all, and I'm not going to read it because you can read it. But basically the thing is, and I don't know if this is said in the post or if it was said somewhere, it is like putting a shot of vodka in a swimming pool.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that swimming pool, of course, I mean, swimming pools are so gross to me, but I mean, you still don't want to drink you don't want to drink the swimming pool water, but not because of the alcohol content. Okay. And so here's another thing that you can ruffle Diane's feathers for a minute. Those alcohol test strips.
Oh my God. Yeah. That will ruffle
my feathers. Make sure you get those because you need those. I'm just kidding. Don't ever buy those. Don't ever accept those. I just because somebody invented a strip that can detect alcohol in breast milk doesn't mean that it should have been invented.
And
it doesn't mean that it should be sold.
No, they shouldn't. And they don't work. That is a great example of somebody playing off your vulnerability. Mm-hmm. That is what that is. They don't even work. And it's a ridiculous. I mean, come on. When you could just go by how you feel, when you can just like be sensible about it, like buying those strips, basically you're saying I lost all my sense. I have no sense at all. Yeah, ever.
Basically, you're saying is I'm concerned about the alcohol content in my blood, my breast milk, which is something you don't need to be concerned about. You need to be concerned about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the safety of you.
Strip is not going to help you with that.
No, it's not. And also, they are so sensitive that they will pick up. You have a ripe banana and some orange juice and test your breast milk. I bet you it'll come up positive. Oh, they're so useless.
Unbelievable. I hate those things. I hate them.
So I hope that you have learned or have relearned or can see that the numbers that we are talking about are so small that they do not warrant the level of stress and judgment around this topic.
Mm-mm. That is the people that are saying this stuff to you. They're telling you you shouldn't be drinking. Why can't you give it up for the sake of your baby? How dare you? Those are people that don't have the education. They don't know. They're judging by what they think to be right, and that's not everybody. They don't know. They don't have the information.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not just the people around you, but agencies do this too. There's some agency, I don't even know, that like maybe it's like the CDC or something, some big place that's like has like guidelines on how much alcohol you can drink while you're breastfeeding. Screw off. We don't need your guidelines on how to like behave as human. Like just stop. There's no, I said this in the other episode too. There is no guidelines on how much alcohol a man should drink while he is trying to reproduce.
Right.
And that is more of a problem.
It really is.
But we would never recommend what men should do for themselves because we just think, well, men can handle themselves. They don't need all these recommendations. But, women are so stupid and dumb that we can't like live our lives. We need to have all these rules and regulations and all these recommendations from these agencies telling us how to live.
Right. We need to be monitored.
Yes. You need to be carefully monitored because you're just stupid. You can use your brain. We have brains and we can use our brain in this. You can't use your brain when you're drunk, though. So have a plan.
In the other episode, did I talk about the car seat story?
Oh, you did. Yeah.
Did I?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'll tell that story again because I totally remember this very well. And I would always talk about this when I did breastfeeding classes. So years ago, here where I live, there was a news story about a woman who had been drinking and had her baby in a carrier car seat, right? So if the baby was in a carrier car seat, they must have been pretty young. And she had been drinking, went to go drive herself home, put the car seat on the top of the car like it was a cup of coffee, got in her car and drove away. And off goes the baby, tumbling down in the car seat off the back of the car. And the baby was not hurt or anything like that because, they were in the car seat and buckled, thank God. But that is a fantastic example of how you are not going to do the right thing when you're drinking. And who knows if she was even breastfeeding? Like, nobody knows. But that is a great example of like you're drinking and you're supposed to be taking care of an infant. Those two things don't go together. Nobody's saying you can't drink. We're just saying you need to find somebody else to help you with your baby. That's all.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. There's these, and I feel like it's just becoming more like, there's like, it's pretty common now. Right? There was like a time where we were hearing more about this where parents were having like, drinking parties together and they're gathering at people's houses and like having wine and like hanging out with the babies and all that. But then everyone's getting in their car and driving home. And it's just not safe. The fact that you're drinking while you're breastfeeding is not the issue.
No.
It's the fact that you can't make good decisions when you're drunk. I can't even think about all of the things that I did while I was drunk. Like, what if I had a baby with me?
Yeah. It's just,
that's,
the only problem. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really the only issue is you. Because your breast milk is not going to hurt your baby, but you might. So just do it safely.
So like we were saying, the science behind it is a very small amount of alcohol actually gets into your milk. That's the bottom line. Like it is not a lot of alcohol. You might be having a glass of wine that has 11% alcohol in it, but the amount of alcohol that is actually detected in your blood is way less than that. way less.
It's trace amounts.
So it's and it just is not even, people really do make it sound like it's 11% around the board. And we know that that's not true. We know it's not. But it's like people have a baby and everybody freaks out and just starts making up these statistics that aren't true. Like, it shouldn't change your whole life. Like, having a baby is life-changing enough.
Yeah.
You should be able to still do some of the things that you want to do. You should be able to still, like, go to a wedding and have a drink and celebrate something. Yeah.
It is so life-changing that you should and need to be able to do some of the things that you were doing before, because it's going to be, it's like shock and awe anyway.
Yeah. But you shouldn't have to, like, put your whole life on hold.
No.
It's not fair.
You don't have to. The science is here. It's in. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.